Over the past couple of years, we've been seeing many of the large-scale DLC-sized mods on their way to Fallout 4 either slow down or even stop work completely. But during this time, Fallout London has been on a stride and really has been a massive beacon of hope, as now being one of the most ambitious and incredibly exciting upcoming mods for Fallout 4. They've been releasing a ton of content for us to play, and more importantly, in today's video, development updates, as the team here has just shared an absolutely massive new gameplay reveal with a ton of additional information on what exactly is going on in London, and really why this team is creating a totally unique Fallout game for you to experience totally for free. The recent gameplay showcase really felt like a Todd Howard E3 deep dive where you finally get that gameplay reveal. It was just them playing the mod and it looks absolutely incredible. In addition, they shared a ton of other details in a big interview on their channel and even sent some things in a press kit to me direct. But looking first at the gameplay of this mod, we get to see what exactly it'll feel like to play it. A fresh start where you basically just load up into Fallout 4 with the mod installed and play a new game. Because with this mod installed, you are functionally playing a new game. The mod will feature a totally unique and custom opening created just for this that begins to establish the world and the lore.
And London, a monument to mankind's ambition, was returned to the state of nature. Those who emerged from the ashes did so from a network of underground bunkers known as Pindar stations.
And this is actually a pretty important one, as even if you're familiar with Fallout lore, things in post-apocalyptic London are quite different from what you could find in the West and really in the United States. You're now playing as the Wayfarer, 50 years before the events of Fallout 4, and you can see you start out in a lab environment, which quickly erupts into some pretty major chaos, which of course then provides you the opportunity to make your escape. An important note around this, you are playing as a new character in Fallout London, and this character doesn't talk. The devs discuss how they are using a silent protagonist with this mod, on one hand because it does make development a bit simpler, not having to record all of those voice lines, although there are some major voice actors in this mod, but also not wanting to hamper someone's experience with a British accent. We also do see how traits are making a return here, and with that actually a bunch of unique and new traits. Each of these featuring their own unique animated icon and even some sound effects as you hover over them, making it all feel incredibly legit. The devs describe that making this a unique world from the familiar American Fallouts was important. There's going to be different corporations and factions that dominate here, and you're going to see all of this represented in the gameplay. Both in the mysterious faction that we're opening up to, as in Fallout London there is no vault tech, so we aren't going to have that traditional vault experience and all of the familiar things that come with vault tech, but even further in the broader world of London, there'll be a bunch of new factions. You're going to find members of the Gentry, the Tommies, Camelot, and even the Fifth Column. But it's not just new people and factions. There's a bunch of new things also. You could find a different terminal in Fallout London, which may seem simple, but there are different companies on this side of the world, so as a result, some of the machines and even structures will look differently. There are these new rad shrew enemies that seem to be some kind of irradiated rat or rodent, and functionally are going to be pretty similar to mole rats, or at least London's take on mole rats, although it doesn't seem like these guys can burrow, which is definitely a huge plus. And of course, very prominently shown in this trailer is the Atom Boy, Fallout London's version of the Pip-Boy, because there aren't Pip-Boys here. The Atom Boy was created by reverse engineering Pip-Boys, and it looks absolutely incredible. Naturally, from a gameplay perspective, it'll be pretty similar to a Pip-Boy, this really being more of a Pip-Pad, but as a result of it being a Pip-Pad, it actually doesn't have that familiar built-in light. And we could also see this, how in Fallout London, a torch will be used as the Atom Boy doesn't feature a flashlight. Things will be functionally similar. You attach the torch to your utility belt so you can still turn it on and off on the fly. And this is a genuine gameplay component here. They wanted a torch over that flood of green light that typically comes from a Pip-Boy, because the flood of green light sometimes actually ruin story moments, and the directional torch light does really serve to enhance the horror aspects of the world design, which you definitely start to feel during this gameplay. It does have spooky vibes as you are exploring around a rather abandoned but mysterious area. You just really don't know what is hiding around each of these corners or behind certain objects. But speaking of new and unique things, the devs also describe how the vast majority of clothing, armors, weapons, and more are going to be newly created for Fallout London. There's very little reuse of old stuff, and what is being reused will have some unique twists and updates. And they're even taking a focus on some of these stranger weapons from UK history that they can add to this to make things a bit more fun and feel like Fallout. Unfortunately, a bunch of this content has already been released with some of their standalone releases, featuring a bunch of outfits and armors and even some weapons also. And these unique characteristics extend beyond just items. There won't be a German Shepherd dog meat, but rather a Bulldog companion as a replacement of dog meat, and a tea system in Fallout London where you can make your own tea and drink it and actually have a leftover teacup. But one of the biggest of these new and major additions is in the gameplay with this new train. We see getting a train ticket as well as actually looking at a train map at one point and then actually going on to the train overall. Train tickets are currency in this world in general, but as you can see, the riding of the train is also going to be a feature. And the devs describe how this isn't going to be limited to just this intro sequence. There won't only be trains, but also boats and trolleys from time to time. I know though, like other Fallout games, you're going to spend the vast majority of the time on foot. There will be some areas where trains are necessary, and this will always be something in the background of the mod overall. Doesn't necessarily seem like there'll be a fully fledged metro system, but they're definitely taking advantage of this feature and applying it throughout the mod. And during this train ride, you get a great look at the world they are creating with Fallout London. There's going to be distinct biomes here, a cityscape in central London, but also some greener areas around the outskirts and even some desolation and destroyed areas throughout. Performance was a big consideration. They have people on lower end systems testing the mod during development, and they even describe that during this train sequence, they are getting a constant 60 FPS with even all of this going on. And on the topic of the world overall, the settlement system is being re-implemented. They're putting settlements in a diverse set of areas and in locations where you can actually build up the settlement and not have your game melt. They purposely picked areas where there wasn't a lot going on or that weren't already taxing. There's very much so going to be a story focus with Fallout London. It's not just about killing things. Those terminals you see during the intro to this mod are going to be full of information. They are in a fortunate situation that Bethesda has left the lore pretty much wide open when it comes to London and even Europe overall. They are sticking to the existing lore, so what bits there are for London will be applied here, but there's going to be a heavy lore presence. Those terminals you see in the video are full of information already, and this is going to be a common theme throughout the mod. And there will be some of that familiar Fallout flavor. Some Lovecraftian things are going to make their way into the mod that will pop up from time to time, and even Alistair Tenpenny will be referenced and may even be in the mod somewhat. This of course being the character from Fallout 3, and we'll have an earlier version of him based off the original concept art, so he will be quite young. But they're not forgetting about London either. There's going to be a 005 styled character coming with this, and they do suggest that he may be a mysterious stranger of sorts without confirming anything directly, and even do have plans to implement the Queen as long as she is still living. And just overall, Fallout London for me has become one of the mods to look forward to for Fallout 4. Not only are we getting epic showcases like this gameplay demo or even some of their past trailers, which are just incredible, but they're also just releasing a ton of content for us to enjoy right now. Plus, this one does feel truly unique. It is Fallout, but with a big and notable twist. There are no Vault Boys here. Vault Tech isn't around in London. It just really feels like we are entering into a new and unique world, which I think a lot of mods attempt to accomplish, but this one is actually doing it. If you want to keep up to date with the Fallout London progress or even download some of these standalone projects or watch their other trailers, I'll have links to all of their social media down below. With that said though, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I hope you found it interesting. And with that, I hope to see you all next time. Later.